Hello, my name is Leanne Swisher and this is my family narrative project. So for day one with my group, I had them trace their hand, and on the palm of their hand I had them write their most favorite thing to do with their family, and then on the fingertips other things that they like to do with their family, but not necessarily as much. As we went along I realized that they loved traveling with their family and it was a big thing for them, so we decided to have them write a short story about traveling on their dream vacation with their family. So because my students wanted to write about traveling, I chose the TEAC for Social Studies 5.8c. The student understands the location and patterns of settlement and the geographic factors that influence where people live, and are able to analyze the reasons for the location of cities in the United States, including capital cities, and explain their distribution past and present. So for my writing TEAC, I chose the writing process 5.15. Students use elements of the writing process, planning, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing, to compose text. So for day two, we did brainstorming where the kids thought of ideas for what they wanted to do in their stories. I had an anchor chart that listed different ways that they could think of ideas, and one of the ways was to doodle, which was by far the most popular with the children. While they were doodling and thinking of their own ways to write their story, I also spoke to them about what they wanted to do in those cities so that when they were writing they had some sort of idea of what the plot would be and what the climax would be before they got too far in and realized they didn't know what they wanted to do. So for week three, we finally started writing with the introductions. I gave each child a composition notebook so that they could feel that the experience was more personal to them. I also brought in an anchor chart called Hook Your Reader, and it listed different ways to start off an introduction. I was very fortunate because this was the same sort of terminology that their English teacher had used before, and so they picked up introductions very quick and were able to write very in-depth, engaging introductions from the get-go. So for our fourth week, what we did was revision. I brought in an anchor chart using the acronym ARMS, which is add, remove, move, or substitute, which really got the kids thinking about what sort of words could be taken away or put in to make things flow better. This one went very smoothly. I think they already had some sort of expertise in there, and they really seemed to have a good handle on things as I spoke to them that day. So week five was the second draft where the kids would rewrite everything they had into a clean copy so they could work more. And I found out later that this was my students' least favorite part of the whole thing, this and along with the final draft. And you can see why here. What was the hardest part for y'all?
The hardest part for me was having to write so many drafts and um, and fixing all of the mistakes that I went.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Soraya?
My least favorite part was rewriting.
Rewriting? Yeah.
And then you have to look back and forth and turn pages.
I had a feeling that would be a lot of people's least favorite part. This was also the week where I introduced research for them to look at about their cities and the historical significance, and I found that they had some trouble really looking in depth at these things. However, once I provided some guided instructions, they were able to make some connections. I think this is because they don't get much instruction in the way of social studies, but for what they had, they did amazingly well, and I'm very proud of them. So week six, I had them do peer editing, where I showed them an anchor chart showing how to edit and what things they should be looking for, and I split them into pairs where they would look at each other's papers, edit them, speak respectfully about what they thought could be changed or anything they noticed, and then I also went through and had a small conference with each student about what needed to change or what kind of common mistakes I saw. So week 7 and 8 were spent on the final draft. This one was more complicated than I thought it would be for them. As you saw in the clip before, they really had a lot of trouble figuring out what to copy and what to do. So what I did in week 7 was provide a lot of focused attention and looked at each student's story and thought about with them, what do you want to change? What do you want to see? And by week 8, they had all finished and had each come up with a wonderfully creative story that was exceptional, especially for a 5th grade student.